Oh, and Marty, I do remember now, Heidi is going to be here, but will be late.
Okay, thank you. Just a note to everybody, Nathan Quayen from the elections office is also on our meeting today if you guys have any questions for elections. So.
Thanks. Morning, Nathan.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed entered 89460444016. This meeting ID does not accept meeting ID. You entered 946044216. This meeting ID does not exist. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Hey Jesse, we can hear that.
I was just figuring it out.
64016.
This stupid thing.
Does not exist.
All right, Marty, you ready to go?
I am ready.
Do you mind go ahead and put up the participation slides?
I would love to do that.
All right, good morning, everyone. I will call Committee of the Whole to order for today, June 23rd. We continue to meet virtually until our hybrid solution is good to go. As always, you can find agenda and related documents at the web link on the screen. And go ahead. And for providing public comment, no change here. If you're a participant in the meeting, you can raise or lower your hand to be recognized during opportunities for public comment. There's also an opportunity to click more on an iPhone or Android phone. If you're using a landline to dial in, you can press *9 to raise and lower your hand. And as always, we have our City Council voicemail that goes to all council members at 552-6012 and the City Council email. Thanks for that, Marty. We will go ahead and our first item is roll call. We have, I believe, everyone with the exception of Heather, and I know that Heidi was going to be late, but perhaps you could call it, Marty.
Happy to. Anderson.
Present.
Becerra.
Present.
Contos. Oh, looks like John's out today. And Harp, she's absent.
Harp is out.
Hess,
Present.
Jones,
Present.
Merritt,
Present.
Ramos,
Present.
Cheryl,
Present.
Masika,
Present.
Van Losberg,
Here.
West.
She, not here now, but I believe she'll be joining later.
And John Contos just joined us, so.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Next item is approval of minutes. We have minutes from May 26th to approve. Are there any changes to those minutes? Seeing none, those will stand approved. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda today? We have one agenda item relative to municipal elections, but is there any public comment on non-agenda items? And not seeing any, we will move to our one order item of business, which is a resolution calling for the method of city elections and considering whether or not to hold primaries in any of the offices on the ballot. And Marty, go ahead and introduce this, please.
Good morning, City Council members and citizens who might be watching. So today we are talking about the upcoming municipal elections. City elections this year will feature a mayor, 3 judges, and 6 city council, all 6 city council wards on the ballot. Half of city council are up for election every 2 years. If the decision before council today is twofold. First of all, we needed to talk about the method of the election, that is, to say, will it be conducted via mail ballot or via polling place? And then the second decision before city council is whether or not to hold a city primary. Yesterday, after the close of filing, the elections office sent a communication to the city indicating that the statutory threshold for whether or not the city needs to hold a primary election has not been reached. We have 4 candidates in Ward 1, or excuse me, for mayor. We have 4 candidates in Ward 1 and 3 candidates in Ward 6. And in the remaining races, there are 2 candidates each. And there's a wonky spreadsheet, that's the official name of it, that is attached to your agenda today that the Secretary of State's office puts together to help us figure out whether the statute is triggered for a primary. We haven't hit that threshold. So the decision for council today is to decide whether or not to call a special primary election. So the city and the method of election, the city has held mail ballot elections since 2007. When we made that switch, the costs for mail ballot elections are less than polling place elections, primarily due to labor costs. If staffing polling places is generally more expensive than conducting a mail ballot election. I think there's a change in this year's mail ballot election in that the city will be paying postage for return ballots. So folks will get a postage paid envelope to return their ballot. In the past, they had to provide a stamp. So we're seeing a little bit of increased costs on our mail ballots this year, but they're still less by quite a bit than a polling place election. So I'm going to share my screen here for a second because I do have a little table in the middle of my referral memo that I want to show you about those costs. So you can see that a mail ballot for a citywide mail ballot is $114,634.19. And then one word cost is $19,105.70. The cost of
Hey, Marty, I'm sorry
Yes.
to interrupt you. Would you mind blowing that up on the screen for folks?
No problem.
Thanks.
There we go. Better?
Much better.
Okay. So the citywide cost for the mail ballot includes 1 drop-off location in every ward. So if you add more drop-off locations, those need to be staffed. So those costs might be a little bit higher. So Clearly, these are estimates. We're not totally sure what the final costs will be, but this is what the elections office has sent us. Polling place election citywide, $146,756 and some change. And polling place election for each in award is about $24,500. For the November general election, mail ballot costs are estimated to be $117,244.19, and the polling place election will be $149,366.57. Let's see, I think that's about all I want to talk about on that. So those are the two factors. What we're asking council to do today is to consider a resolution, and it's been drafted with these options in it. So you can, the appropriate motion is to, is to adopt the resolution, and you need to talk about the type of election that you want in the motion, whether it's polling place or mail ballot. And then if council or the motion maker wishes to move to conduct a primary in any of the races, we'll need to know that you want to do a primary and which races you would like to have and which offices you'd like to have on the ballot. And I think that's everything I've got for you today. Oh, I did want to add that there was an article in the news that the county commissioners are considering a ballot measure. And when that happens, financially, that's a good deal for the city in terms of elections, because we split the costs of any of the elections. If a measure is placed on the municipal ballot, we split the cost of the election with the other jurisdiction. So that saves us a bit of money. And I'll turn it over to you to discuss.
All right, thanks very much, Marty. And so method of election, mail or polling place, as you said, whether or not we have primaries in any of the races. And then I believe you said that we have conducted mail ballots since, was it 2007?
Yes.
And Marty's nodding in the affirmative, and that we've seen our costs decrease and voter turnout increase with the mail-in ballot, I believe, as well. I've got a queue of people. Gwen.
Thanks. First, a question. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. So, Marty, we can call for a citywide primary for the mayoral office because that has, I think, 4 candidates in it. But then we can also call for a primary just in the city council ward races where there are more than 2 candidates. Is that what you were saying?
Well, you could call for a primary in a race where there are 2 candidates. The world is your oyster.
Oh,
The issue is if you call a primary in a race with 2 candidates, the 2 candidates are going to advance to the general election. So you can do a primary in races where there are 2 candidates. It's just the outcome of that doesn't affect the general. And in cases where there's 3 or more candidates, then the top 2 vote getters advance to the general.
great. Thank you. And Mr. Chair, I'd just like to make a motion at this point because I think that would further the conversation.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Also, real quickly, Gwen, sorry, Marty, could you make me a co-host? I realized I can't manage some of the keeping the queue orderly without that, but go ahead,
I'd
Gwen.
be delighted.
I just lowered my hand to help you out. I know.
Thank you.
It's hard when you're chairing and you can't remove the hands. It's like you can't move forward. I would like to make a motion to adopt the resolution to call for a mail-in elections and to call for a primary in the mayoral race as well as wards 1 and 6 where there are multiple candidates. And I'd like to speak to that, Mr. Chair.
That's in order. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I would love to spend money on things besides this, but having been thinking about it for the last 2 days, ever since the filings closed, I think it's really important that we have a primary so that we ultimately have someone elected to these positions by a majority, not by a plurality. That's the way our system is set up. I think that's the way that we get the best candidates, frankly, who are engaged and vested and work hard. I do not like when candidates are elected by a fluke, basically, by not having a majority behind them. I think it's just incredibly important. And I tailored my motion to not include wards that do not have more than 2 candidates, because I don't think it's fair for candidates to basically get a straw poll on their election. I think they need to go the distance and run their regular race. And that's, again, that's the way our system is set up. I also wanted to note that we tend to call for primaries now, and I have seen a shift in the dynamics in that when I first ran 6 years ago, there was not nearly the attention paid to government or local elections. It was frankly pretty sleepy. And we're living in a very heightened era in terms of focus on government for numerous different reasons. So I think it's all the more important that we have primaries and we ultimately have people elected by a majority. So just I think that's the way our system is designed. That's the way it needs to work. And given the incredible heightened era that we're living, it's all the more important. So I hope I have your support on this motion. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to ask people to be fairly concise for time. Sandra.
Thanks. I have a couple of questions and a proposed amendment. So with the, if it is going to be mail-in, will the city pay for all return ballots or only the ones that are actually mailed in? I know that there was a discrepancy with that a couple of years ago.
The city will pay for, my understanding is the envelope has an indicia on it. And so when it is returned, when it's placed in the mail stream, then the post office bills the elections office, who in turn bills us.
Okay.
So it's only for people who put their ballot in the mail. So if they go to the drop-off location in their ward, we don't get billed for that return either. So not all
Great.
ballots we're going to get charged for, just the stuff that hits the mail stream.
Okay, great. And then my second question is, doesn't state law dictate that if we have 4 or more candidates, then it does automatically trigger a primary?
No.
Oh, okay.
Nathan, do you want to explain the wonky spreadsheet a little bit?
Nathan, you should be able to speak.
I can share the wonky spreadsheet while Nathan's trying to talk.
So in the interest of time, I'm rather than share the wonky spreadsheet, the short answer is no. It
Okay,
doesn't
great.
call for it.
So my proposed amendment is I would propose that we only have a primary in Ward 1 and the mayoral race. And then I would like the primary I'm okay with the primary being mail-in, but I would like the general election to be at the polling place. So that's my proposed amendment.
Okay. Gwen, do you want to accept that as a friendly? I'm guessing not.
No.
So we have an amendment to essentially remove Ward 6. Is that right, Sandra, from
Yes.
a primary and modify to, sorry, what was the method?
The primary can be mail-in, but I would prefer the general to be in polling place, just for election security reasons. I've had a lot of people reach out to me with concerns about that.
Okay, so we're going to take up this amendment. That's an order, and I'm only going to take comment on the amendment. Ms. Cheryl, do you have comment on the amendment?
Yeah, thanks. I do. I think that we see higher voter turnout with mail-in elections. I have no concerns about security around it. It is a really nice way to make sure that our elderly population is able to vote, those that are homebound. So I am not in favor of any requirement for it to be an in-person election. And I think any ward that, or race that has more than 2 candidates should have a primary, simply so the elected candidate wins by majority.
Okay, Mr. Ramos. Jesse, did you have comment? I saw the hand up, but then it went down.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. President. I will be commenting on not the amendment, on the actual motion.
Okay. Ms. Anderson, do you have comment on the proposed amendment?
I do. I will not be supporting the proposed amendment. I agree with what Ms. Sherrill says. We see higher voter turnout. It enfranchises more Missoulians to participate in the local government process. It costs us less money, and there are absolutely no facts to back up that there are any less, that elections by mail are any less secure. That has been proven time and time again, and definitely don't feel the need to spend more money of the city's taxpayers' money on something that is not necessary. So I will be not supporting the amendment.
Okay. Sandra, I'm not sure if I was doing a good job with hands. Did you want to speak to your amendment anymore? I think you
Yeah,
covered
just
it, right?
real quickly, with the polling place, we do have absentee ballots available for the elderly and those that are homebound. So those folks are not left behind, so they can just stay at home and mail in their ballot. So it gives more voter intention. So that's the reason why I presented that amendment. So I will be in support of my amendment.
Okay. Not seeing any other hands. I won't be supporting the amendment either. I believe in primaries where there are more than 2 candidates, and I concur with some of the other comments around the efficacy and appropriateness of the mail-in ballots. We have 1 member in the public. Is there any public comment on the amendment only? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote on the amendment.
Alrighty, on the amendment, hang on, let me expand that. Anderson,
No.
Becerra,
No.
Contos,
Yes.
Hess,
No.
Jones,
No.
Merritt,
No.
Ramos,
Yes.
Sherrill,
No.
Vasika,
Yes.
Von Lossberg,
No.
and West. Is Heidi,
thank
did
you.
Heidi have to leave? Okay.
I don't think she's been able to join us.
Okay, that's 3 ayes and 7 nays.
Okay, so the amendment fails. We're back to the main motion. Is there additional comment on the main motion? Jesse, I think you had indicated you might. Yep, go ahead.
Mr. President, I've been having a little technical difficulties on my side. I
We're
am
here to
not
help.
going to
No
be
worries.
supporting. So I'm not going to be supporting the motion. I don't think the primary is necessary. I wish I could have voted for half of Ms. Vasika's amendment. I don't think the primaries are necessary, but I'm really glad to see the consistency amongst my council members. I was very concerned there was kind of more of a political play during the last election, but it seems like it actually has been kind of an ideological shift amongst the council. And when there's 3 or more candidates, it is going to be a consistent trend from on out to primary. I'd like to think that maybe I had something to do with that with my Ward 4 race, but we'll never know. But in any event, I think it's good. You guys are being consistent, but I will not support it because I don't think it's necessary. I think people win all the time with less than 50% of the vote in nations and states across the country. I don't think it's necessary, so I'm not going to be supporting it, but I certainly appreciate the consistency and understand where all you guys are coming from on it.
Thank you, Ms. Sherrill.
Yeah, thanks. I think that Gwen hit all the points that I would have hit. I am going to be supporting this motion. I think I just articulated some of why I didn't support Ms. Vasika's, but I think that it's really important to have primaries when we have more than 2 candidates. So the voters get to decide by majority on who their next elected official will be.
Thanks. Not seeing any other raised hands. My apologies to the next committee. I know we're running a little bit long. I've articulated my support as well. Believe in primaries. I've been consistent, to use Jesse's term, about this for some time when there's more than 2 candidates. And mail-in ballots have been shown to be secure and increase voter turnout. And I think those are good things. So I'll be supporting the main motion. Is there any public comment on the main motion? Not seeing any. We will have, if I can get back to the screen, a roll call vote on the main motion.
Okay, on the main motion, Becerra,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Ramos,
No.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
No.
Von Lossberg,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
and would any of you like to change your vote? That is, I think I have 8 ayes and 2 nays. That's right, we have 2 absent.
Correct. Mr. Ramos, Ms. Vasika, preferences regarding consent agenda or committee reports?
It doesn't matter to me. I'll speak to it on Monday on the consent agenda. If that's works for Jesse.
Yeah, I'm good with consent agenda, Mr. President.
We will have this on the consent agenda. If for any reason, we could always move it to committee reports, but we'll have it on the consent agenda by function of this meeting. That was our only item of business. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marty.